Destination Imagination, one of those rare Cartoon Network specials that really feels like it's brushing up against something bigger, like it's testing the waters for what could have been a full theatrical leap if the timing had worked out differently. The runtime is a full hour without the commercials, so you can practically see where an extra 20 to 30 minutes could have elevated this into a full-on animated theatrical movie. And honestly, it probably would have worked. If not for the fact that the Powerpuff Girls movie underperformed, this feels like the exact kind of project Cartoon Network might have taken a gamble on and put in theaters. What's especially interesting is how it continues this unofficial trilogy structure of the Foster specials by shifting the emotional center again. House of Blues, that was obviously Blue's story. Good Will Hunting gave us one of the most heartfelt arcs in the entire show with Wilt. So naturally, this one hands the spotlight to Frankie, and it's a slam dunk. Frankie's always been the grounded, relatable core of the house, the one holding everything together while chaos swirls around her. And here she finally gets her own internal conflict, her own emotional journey, even if the story it places her in feels very familiar because it's basically Coraline. We've got the overworked, underappreciated main character who stumbles into a seemingly perfect alternate world. Everything is brighter, easier, more tailored to her desires, but it's also slightly off. The ruler of the world presents themselves as loving, warm, and understanding, until that love curdles into something possessive, obsessive, and deeply unsettling. It's not just inspiration, it's almost a one-to-one thematic mirror. And yet, despite how familiar it is, the execution still works because it's filtered through Foster's unique tone, so it's not as scary as Coraline. Unlike the previous specials, which sometimes just felt like extended episodes with bigger budgets, Destination Imagination genuinely feels cinematic. The pacing is tighter, the stakes are more personal yet more intense, and there's a stronger sense of escalation. The tone even dips into surprisingly dark territory at times, way darker than your average episode, but it never loses the show's signature humor. And that balance is key. One minute you're laughing at the absurdity of the imaginary friends, and the next you're getting hit with genuinely unsettling imagery or emotional tension. And then there's the villain, Face. No, not Face from the A-Team. For a character who could have been played for comedy or weirdness, Face ends up being a legitimately effective villain. There's something deeply uncomfortable about the way he frames his obsession as love. It taps into that same psychological space as the other mother from Coraline. The idea that something can look like care, sound like care, but actually be about control. That makes him land in a way that's rare for this kind of show. Thematically, the movie digs into something surprisingly mature, the difference between real love and unhealthy obsession. Real love gives people freedom, whereas obsession tries to trap them. And tying that idea to an imaginary friend, something born from loneliness and abandonment, adds another layer. It almost feels like a dark what-if version of a character like Bing Bong from Inside Out. Same emotional roots, but a completely different outcome. And honestly, there's even a weird, funny thought lingering in the back of my head. Is this the origin story of Face from Nick Jr.? By the end, what you're left with is one of the strongest, most creative, and most imaginative entries not just in Foster's, but in Cartoon Network's entire lineup of TV movies. It takes risks with tone, gives a long overdue spotlight to Frankie, and tells a story that's both fun and also somewhat unsettling in all the right ways, because sometimes the scariest imaginary friends are the ones that don't want to be imaginary anymore. For me, it gets an A minus, a 9 out of 10, and a 4 out of 5 stars.